We were thrilled with the level of engagement the developers undertook with this project. At the very outset, they came to us before they put pen to paper to think about what impact a development here might have on the World Heritage Site and how they might support the World Heritage Site's outstanding universal value.
Charlotte Square itself is probably the finest classical set-piece square in the world. The palace facades that Robert Adam designed are pretty much intact as they were over 200 years ago. So there's a responsibility to deal with those in a very respectful way.
The brief to the design team for this project was to seamlessly blend the period grandeur of the period buildings with the modern new extension to the rear, so that the functionality of the space was consistent throughout. Not creating a front office and a back office, but an all-encompassing space that suited occupiers' needs.
One of the key challenges was getting a 200-year-old building to work as a modern office space. I mean, anybody walking into these buildings would just see a classical space and they wouldn't appreciate what's going on behind the scenes. But we've recabled all of the townhouses with Cat 6. We've put in air conditioning, and that makes them fit for purpose for the 21st century.
There are many aspects of the project that are really quite exciting. There's been a real attention to detail, repair of cornicing, and replacement of missing historic features, which is absolutely to be supported. But I think it's the overall impression as you walk in through the front door that really bowls you over. When you compare it to the state the buildings were in before, there's some very clear improvements made, and I think it has been pretty successful in its outcomes.
We're dealing here with 6 classical Grade A listed townhouse buildings. You have to respect the buildings at the same time as making them fit for purpose. For instance, in one of the townhouses, they had driven a lift shaft through where the original stair had been and put connecting corridors through that. What we did there was to take out all of those unsympathetic interventions and replace them with a contemporary stair, a glass and steel stair, but a stair in exactly the same proportions and exactly the same space as the original stair, reinstating the way the building worked in the first place.
The development is very respectful to the architecture and the history of the buildings. The way in which the buildings are joined is very careful, and the way in which the spaces flow together is rather wonderful. There's been an attempt to add something new and something of its time, while really respecting the overall idea of the Georgian buildings.
We used modern contemporary materials. So the roof, for instance, in the atrium is utilising ETFE pillows, which people will have seen on the Beijing swimming pool or the Eden project in Cornwall. And these are so lightweight that the steelwork that holds them up can be as lightweight as possible as well. So using contemporary high-tech materials to allow existing Georgian buildings to be as untouched as possible.
Throughout the process, it became clearer and clearer that what was proposed was actually going to contribute positively to the World Heritage Site. The developers kept us informed as they carried on through the works and took on board suggestions and ideas, which is really a new way of working for developers in this city.
There are lots of favourite parts to the development, whether it's this atrium or parts of the period buildings or the new build, but really it's the changing of perceptions of potential occupiers and people who operate in the property sector to see that this can be done with these buildings in such a beautiful way.